My name's Terry Clark Ward and welcome to 5 o'clock. Each week I meet a different foreigner that's come to live here in Poland. However, today I've decided to leave Wrocław, my favourite city, and venture out to the countryside to breathe in the clean, fresh air. But surely, here in the beautiful Polish countryside, just a stone's throw away from the Czech Republic and the nearby town of Odmachów, there couldn't be any foreigners. Or could there? In a moment, I'll meet today's guest. But before I do, let's visit the clue table. Today's clue table isn't actually a table. It is a grand piano, which is also a clue. The next thing we have is a ball, and because of its shape, it's probably for rugby. Then we have a picture here of the palace, and it's again that same palace we saw at the beginning. So that's obviously important, but how? And then we have a picture of a car. It looks like it's an old car, a Tatra. And then we have some money, some banknotes and some coins, and they look to be from Asia and maybe from Africa. And finally, we have two books. And if we look carefully, we can see the same names appear on them. So maybe this person's also a writer. Do you think you know who today's guest is? Well, let's go and find out. Today I'm at the former bishop's palace in Piotrowicach Nyskich to meet its custodian, writer, vintage car collector, musician and overall very talented Englishman, Jim Parton. Thank you for having us.
Good afternoon.
It's been quite a journey getting here because we're now in rural Poland. Is that a logical place for you to have wanted to come to live?
Not really. I mean, I couldn't be more cut off from my original life in the throbbing metropolis, which is London.
Okay, so that's where you're from originally?
Or even the throbbing... Well, I'm not from London, no. I'm from nowhere because my father was a British Army officer, so I don't actually have a hometown. So I've always been a kind of a gypsy since childhood. So in that sense, it's easy for me to go somewhere strange. It would have been a problem to stay, as a matter of fact, because I'm a writer. And a journalist some of the time, or at least I was. And that's a profession that's getting tougher and tougher thanks to the internet. There are lots of people, and they aren't all bad, they're just doing it for free, you know, and so getting paid is tricky, you know. Any professional journalist will tell you that the rates have not gone up for 10 or 15 years.
That's true.
And I've got a young family. London is a very expensive place. And I just thought, well, also, you know, I've been in London for 25 years at that point. Time for something new, you know, cut loose and have an adventure. Okay, so this adventure, it was about buying this amazing palace that we're in. It was about buying the amazing palace because always at the back of my mind, I've loved big buildings. Like in London, you know, when I used to work as a stockbroker in the city, and just north of there were some derelict warehouses. And I always thought, well, I wouldn't mind one of those. And they didn't cost very much. And now, of course, if I had bought one, they're worth millions. Really? They are, yeah. Hoxton, you know, the sort of the centre of artistic London and hipster London. Anyway, I didn't do it. And then Polish wife and Poland on the up. But when you came to buy a palace, weren't your friends a bit jealous? I don't think my friends and family were not jealous at all. I think most people think people who buy palaces, and they're right, regard palace owners as romantic fools. You know, it's because you're taking on a huge job. A huge job, a great deal of uncertainty. I mean, we didn't know if maybe the neighbours were all toxic. In fact, they're very nice, so it's been no problem at all. They're lovely, but you know, it could have been an awful place where the foreigner coming in was deeply resented. Maybe this house was full of rot, and in fact, the structures needed a lot of work, but on the other hand, it's pretty sound. You know, this building's been here for 700 years, and it's not going to fall down tomorrow. It's probably good for another 700 years, especially after the work we've done.
Oh, fantastic. Now, one of the things that I remember that was on the clue table, there was some money, some banknotes from I think, somewhere in Africa and somewhere in Asia.
Ah, right, yes. Well, yes, there's a 50 shilling note from Kenya.
Okay.
Because I was born there.
Okay.
I have no recollection of Kenya. I've been back once since, but I mean, it's only big in my life in the sense that I've always been very proud of being born in Kenya, sort of maybe different. But Japan played a much bigger part in my life. I lived there for 3 years in my early 20s, and I learnt to speak Japanese, and then when I was working in London, a lot of my clients were Japanese, and I played rugby with a Japanese team in London. Rugby is big sport in Japan.
You said you've got a big connection with rugby. The connection is in fact so big that you had a rugby ball also on the clue table, and it actually had the name of this palace on there. Why was that?
Well, we have an annual rugby tournament at the end of August. People come from all over. They come a lot from the Czech Republic, from Poland obviously, Austria.
Do people confuse it for an American football sometimes?
I think Polish people who don't know what rugby is do confuse it for American football, but they're completely different games. Yeah.
You mentioned also that you're a writer. Tell me about this best-selling book. What was that?
Well, I had a brief career in the City of London, moving money about the place as a stockbroker, buying and selling shares. And then my market crashed. My market was actually the Japanese market. They had a big financial crisis in 1990. So my employer, my American ruthless employer, Merrill Lynch, said, bye-bye, Jim.
Okay.
And I lost my job. And so at that point, I had to reinvent myself. And I started writing a book, naively, not realising how hard it is to write books. And
the book is called?
It's called The Buck Stop Here.
Okay, The Buck Stop.
And it's still in print after 25 years. So, it's available, and it just describes what we refer to in England as the loads of money era. There are people showing off their huge brick-sized mobile phones, Look at me, I've got a mobile phone. Of course, now everyone has a little tiny one, but that was a status symbol in 1990.
And the other book, though, that was really interesting.
And then the other book, well, I've written, yes, and I've also had a little career as a ghostwriter, where ghostwriter meaning maybe somebody with an interesting story but no skill in writing. Okay. So getting his story down in a compelling way, you need a professional writer for that. A lot of sportsmen do that. Mm-hmm. So Robbiego Williams, the pop star, obviously hugely talented entertainer, songwriter.
Did he entertain you?
Did he entertain me? Yes, in a way. We're not close friends.
So you wrote a book for Robbie? Well, basically,
I wrote with
Robbie.
My name is on the cover.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's on the inside cover. His name is on the cover, and I'm sort of hidden inside. But there is a nice author photograph.
Okay.
He's not the easiest person to work with, if I'm completely honest. He's very impatient, very short attention span. One time I turned up in his house, and he said, "Why have you come here?" And to interview you. And I don't know. I think he just was in the wrong mood for it, and so we rearranged the whole thing for another time.
Okay.
He could do things like that, which was quite annoying. But you just rolled with it. I'm just the writer. Who cares?
But it was a good experience.
It was a very interesting experience.
But another thing, Jim, that was on the clue table was a picture of an old vintage car.
Yeah, in fact, a Czech car.
Is it a Czech car?
It's a Czech car. It's a Tatra.
Okay. A Tatra.
Yeah, they were communist era big limos.
The bourgeoisie.
No, not the bourgeoisie. We got rid of the bourgeoisie. The Politburo.
Okay.
Yeah, the Politburo, and factory managers and generally important people. And the reputation of Eastern Bloc cars in the West is that they're all, they're useless. And but actually, this is a very interesting car technically.
Why was that on the table?
I've got a little side business we don't just have the palace, we have 7 other huge buildings. You can't just buy a palace. You always get a set of buildings and you have to think what to do with them. So I just thought, well, Polish people, they're just great at fixing things. And I like old cars, and so let's try a old car fixing business. I'm into quirky, strange cars, like the Tatra is interesting because it has a big V8 engine which is air-cooled in the back, so it's completely unique. And also it's streamlined. It's a very sleek shape.
And do you have any Polish cars as well?
I'd like a Sirena.
anyone's listening, you need to sit down.
Or a Warszawa.
That would be nice.
But actually, no, I have a juk, of course. Of course I have a Polish.
You have a juk?
I have a juk, yes.
Okay. But you also live here with your wife and children.
Yeah, so I live here with my wife and my 6 small children.
Do you ever feel like it's a bit like being in Narnia here? Like the kids run around and go into wardrobes and...
Yes, although not in winter, funnily enough.
If you wouldn't mind showing us around.
Yeah, I'm very happy to do that, yep.
Because we're just at the beginning and there is a huge area just beyond that door to go and visit. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready, yep.
Okay, let's go.
Right, Terry, should we walk and talk then?
Yeah, great. So you show us around the palace.
Yeah, well, this is the courtyard, which has taken us quite a long time to get civilised. It was all bricked up when we came. It was, and here was a horrible concrete floor with weeds growing through it, and the well is nice, it's interesting. It's, we don't take our water supply from here, but we want to. Oh, it's heavy. Heavy roses over there, yeah.
Wow. Come and have a look at this.
Yeah, so that's the story. We've got this amazing internal courtyard, which from the outside you don't really guess is there.
It must be beautiful in the summer.
Yeah, and it's lovely and it's cool, you know. It doesn't get hot, so baking hot day outside, and here you can just sit and relax.
What else is there to see inside?
Let's go and have a look.
Okay.
Let's wander in. Upstairs we've got some really lovely rooms. We're going to live up here. This is our future kitchen just here. As you can see, it's a little bit of a mess, but it's almost finished. Like a lot of our rooms, they're almost finished. And,
Work in progress.
Work in progress, but we want to live here. This will be a big family kitchen. Right now we're just using, it's the badminton room.
Well, it's good to have a badminton room.
Yeah, it's quite. Doesn't every house have a badminton room? The ceiling up here,
wow.
The ceiling is actually very interesting. This hasn't been restored or researched even, but very interesting series of pictures, which is rather rare on a ceiling of this kind. So there's even an elephant there.
An elephant?
Slightly, you can make out an elephant. Better preserved than this ceiling is the ceiling in the ballroom through here.
Ballroom.
So what we've got here is the ceiling which we discovered in our first summer. No one knew it was there. It was hiding above a later drop ceiling. This kind of ceiling was quite common in the early 1600s, and by the 1800s, out of fashion, and they just covered it up. I've got a theory that there's a connection with England.
Really?
And Scotland, actually. This theory is untested. I'm looking for a researcher to come and test my theory, but I think there's a good chance I'm right. In 1620, which is the date, we believe, of this ceiling, the King of Bohemia, Frederick V, came to Nyssa. It was part of his kingdom. And his wife...
was that her?
Was probably her. This is Elizabeth. It looks very like Elizabeth I of England. Elizabeth I of England died with no children.
Yes.
The next king was James of Scotland, and his daughter Elizabeth married the King of Prague, of Bohemia. So she's a Stuart, Elizabeth Stuart, and known as the Winter Queen because they were only on the throne for one winter before they lost their throne. And this is the only ceiling in Poland with pictures like that on it. This is a 19th century cast iron lift mechanism. So all I need to do is get an electric motor and we can get it going again.
Wow.
It's the dumbwaiter, you know, it used to bring the food up from the kitchen below. This is a strange room. We have no idea what this room is. This has no obvious function, you know. It looks like a place where you might store food or something, but why store food when the kitchen is downstairs? Yeah. It has small windows and it has a feel like a barn. It doesn't really feel like a palace window.
That's true.
Palace room, so strange room.
Weapons room.
Maybe it was hunting. Yeah, maybe. And if you fancy walking along that central beam.
Yeah. Oh.
It doesn't matter too much if you fall down the side, but better if you don't.
Well, now, apart from trying to fight off the cold, because what's the temperature now, Jim?
I don't know, -8?
It's pretty cold, but we're brave Englishmen. I'm going to challenge Jim to teach us about the very important game for English people and maybe for Poles in the future, cricket.
Yeah, this is a summer sport, of course.
Okay. Tell us about the equipment.
Well, the equipment, right, first of all, there's a hard ball. It's about the size of a tennis ball, but it's very hard.
And what are those sticks called?
They're called stumps.
Stumps. So these are these three?
Yeah, from about 21 metres, something like that. The guy throws it overarm like that.
Overarm.
And it can come very, very fast, like 140 or 50 kilometres an hour, the fastest guys are.
Okay.
So it can do serious damage.
All right.
Really serious damage. And they wear helmets, and I'm just wearing pads. I haven't got my thing there, but I should have. Not with you bowling. Maybe. You're going to be gentle, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you're going to be gentle. Okay.
Between the stumps, there are two other pieces of wood. What are they called?
Those are the bales. So if this hits, let's see if I can do it.
Okay.
They'll fall off. See, it fell off.
Okay.
Out.
Out.
Means I'm out.
Okay, and then you protect this with the bat.
I hit it as far as I can and run.
So that was today's pretty tough cricket challenge, and I have to admit Jim was bloody good.
I was impressed by your bowling. Don't do yourself down.
Yeah, I haven't bowled for a while.
You kept it up at me and on a line and a length, as we say.
Well, there's some tricky balls, like some swerve balls.
Oh, you're brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. There's some very tricky ones, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was a huge amount of fun. Yes, I think we might have to invent a winter cricket event.
Jim, you've taken on this incredible challenge to renovate this beautiful palace. How does it make you feel?
I get a great deal of enjoyment and pleasure and pride out of it. No, I love doing this.
I'm sure many people have asked you, when are you going to finish the renovation? I'm not going to ask you that, but I'm going to ask you,
Right.
when you do finish the renovation, what's next?
Well, you see, when will we finish I'll answer that question, which is I have no idea.
Okay.
I always say to people we're 50% done, so that we've been here 9 years, so that's another 9 years.
And do you think that the local people consider you to be a creative, full of drive to create interest in the local area?
I hope that's what they think. Though I honestly don't really know. I want to be used, I speak English, I speak French, I speak Japanese, maybe I can help them as some kind of ambassador for the region, which I'd like to do.
And is this palace, your home, is it open to the public?
It's open to the public in the sense that anyone can come and stay here. We get a lot of people just walking in with their cameras, and if I see them, and if I'm not busy, I go and talk to them, and if I'm really not, I show them around quite often as well.
Mm-hmm. And is this now home?
And it's definitely home, yes. For my children, it's the only home they know.
Well, Jim, you've been a fantastic guest. You've been very noble, very charismatic, and I'm really happy that you've found time to meet me and be our guest on 5 o'clock.
Well, thanks so much for
thanks very much.
Coming here and letting me waste your time. I hope it makes for a nice viewing experience.
Everybody would like to be king of the castle, and it seems that some people really are. But living in a palace isn't just having fun and doing very little. You've got to be pretty hardworking, ambitious, and have a lot of goodwill to go around. See you next time on 5 o'clock. play us something, Jim?
Anyway, I was falling apart there. I did well for 3 bars.
It's pretty cold, but we're brave Englishmen. Because I've been inspired by the goodwill and something else I can't remember. I've had a wonderful day here at this palace. See you next time on 5 o'clock. One more, because I've been inspired by the person I've met, this wonderful palace he and his family live in, and I don't know what to say, but is doing it in a wonderful passion, goodwill, and definitely a lot of happiness. No, that was too... See you next time on 5 o'clock. No. Ready? Okay, but don't laugh, because I need to concentrate. I think you'll...